Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another video. Today, I've got a really exciting one for you. I've made a bunch of videos about Grogu, Yaddle, the Yoda species, but Ahsoka Season 1 may have just given us a clue, just a couple of breadcrumbs that could tell us about the Yoda species' origins. I've been dwelling on this theory for a couple of weeks, ever since the first season of the show came to an end. Dave Filoni is amazing at structuring shows and world building. As someone who knows Star Wars better than anyone except for George Lucas, he knows what's appropriate and what's not. I know some fans disagree with this, but generally speaking, Dave stays in the boundaries and the constraints of George Lucas's canon and builds the world outwards, staying true to the foundations of Star Wars. He did this in the animated shows, we got a glimpse of his live-action work in Mando and Boba, and now his own series which he showran and wrote every single episode, Star Wars Ahsoka. And one of the most exquisite introductions in this most recent show was the concept of Peridea, a second galaxy far, far away. Dave has done some pretty controversial stuff, fabricated some fascinating and crazy wild concepts, but nothing tops this, and I can't stop thinking about the implications of Peridea, its ties to the Mortis gods, and the Force itself, and what species seems to be shrouded in Force mystery, the Yoda species. I'm going to build up to the main theory, but we're going to start with the premise. To what extent does the existence of Peridea affect our understanding of the wider Star Wars universe? And I'm so hoping they do more with it. I assume they will because Ahsoka and Sabine are there with the Noti, and so is Baylan and Shin. Now I have to wonder, despite his experimental streak, the idea of exploring an entire second galaxy and a planet therein which has ties to the Mortis gods, maybe the origins of the Nightsisters, was this something that was originally George's idea? In the making of the Clone Wars Season 3, maybe he unveiled this to Dave Filoni, how Mortis is inherently connected to a second galaxy, but they didn't explore it in animation, and that was something Dave held onto for years, and then decided to use it in Ahsoka. Throughout the episodes we saw Peridea, I couldn't help but feel that there was something so George Lucas to it. This ancient place, which Baylan said the Jedi at the temple during the days of the Republic knew to be mere legends, stories of the pathway to Peridea, of dreams and madness. And now we know that familiar Force-connected species may originate there. I wonder if the Yoda species came from that world, or a different planet within that galaxy. This could explain why they were so rare in the known galaxy, because very few ever left, and perhaps those who did were sent like prophets to spread knowledge of the Force and the ways of the Jedi in the galaxy we know. It is very possible Yoda was one of these himself. After all, some expanded universe material hints at something that Frank Oz himself has suggested, that the Yoda species may have been the original Jedi species, before passing it on to other Force sensitives. It might be a generational thing. Another possibility is that the species was forced out of Peridea, once native to the world, but were either hunted or pushed out by malicious Force entities, purged near extinction, which forced the members of the species to immigrate to a world in the galaxy that we know. Maybe they clashed with the original Sith species, or Dathomirians, Great Mothers. Grogu's an interesting case. Being just 50 years old, I think he was born in the known galaxy, as the child of Yoda and Yaddle. Out of universe, as we know, George wanted nothing about the Yoda species' origins to ever be revealed. In the same way, the concept of Peridea may have also once been a secret, and you would assume Dave Filoni would respect this unless George changed his mind. And we know, even though George has no creative control at Lucasfilm anymore, he still talks with Dave, he still advises him. Maybe he said, you know what, it's time to reveal some of this. Very doubtful, but if this is the case, if Peridea did start as a George Lucas idea, and that second galaxy is also where the Yoda species originates, if an Easter egg in Star Wars Rebels is anything to go by, the Yoda species seems inherently connected to the Mortis gods, or the more ethereal aspects of the cosmic force. Is it possible the Yoda species are born out of the will of the Force? We still don't know why Grogu was born in the same year as Anakin Skywalker. I think the Yoda species is inherently tied to the will of the Force, maybe the wills themselves. And another consideration is what we do know about the Yoda species through the likes of Grogu, Yoda, and Yaddle. I remember during the run of The Mandalorian Season 2, fans were talking about Grogu eating the frog eggs. and it gave us a little bit of insight, which confirmed what we already suspected, that the Yoda species is omnivorous. They ate plants, but they also hunted and ate meat. This was also confirmed in the comics. So if they do indeed originate in the second galaxy, did they once inhabit Peridea with the Noti? Did they prey on their eggs, or their young? And given the landscape of Peridea, is it possible the majority of the Yoda species went extinct? Was Yoda, Yaddle, Grogu some of the last of their kind? And in the same way the Nightsisters had a world in the known galaxy Dathomir, as well as the one in Peridea, did the Yoda species also have a second home? The Yoda species was kept under wraps in-universe for their own protection. They may have been monk-like, peaceful and powerful Force beings. There is a reason Yoda kept so much a secret. It is believed only Mace Windu, a close confidant of the Grand Master, had insight, maybe the slightest insight, about the truth of where Yoda's people originated. And given the Clone Wars that ensued, there is no way Yoda would give out any info. He could not risk his species going extinct. And maybe that's another consideration. If his species is scarce, if they did go extinct on Peridea, whatever new planets they came to in the known galaxy needs to be kept under wraps. They may have migrated, and you never know, maybe at this point in the timeline after Yoda's death, there is still some out there. Grogu might not be alone. I of course as a fan would love for them to explore this, but I understand it's against George's wishes. And this also explains why Yoda's exile was on Dagobah. It was a perfect place to protect himself in the living Force. He scouted the world out in the Clone Wars and found it was the perfect place to mask his presence. And also, following his experience in the animated series, the perfect place to explore the higher mysteries of the Force. I wonder if the Yoda species' homeworld is similar in many ways to the landscape of Dagobah, swampy, marshy, and full of creatures to eat. Hunting was a fundamental part of Yoda's survival on Dagobah. Ahsoka Season 2 will no doubt continue Ahsoka and Sabine's journeys on Peridea. The former seems to be at peace with their stranded status, and luckily, the longer we spend there, the longer Dave Filoni writes episodes based there, the more we will learn about Baylan's mission, the connection the world has to the Force, the father, the daughter, the son, and I'm also aching to learn more about the risk that Dathomir poses to the rest of the known galaxy. Now that the Nightsisters and Thrawn have begun repopulating with those catacombs, I believe that is going to be one of the biggest reveals. What is in there? What have they created? And will it give us insight into the origins of the Zabrak species? There are so many loose threads that I'd love for them to tie together. So share your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. What do you make of all of this? Do you think the Yoda species originates in the second galaxy? Was this George's plan all along? If you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.